Hello and welcome to the latest edition of The Sales Circle. I'm your host, Rob Spence, the Managing Director of Paragon Sales Solutions. And in The Sales Circle, we want to share with you plenty of hints, tips, advice on everything to do with sales, marketing, and business growth. And in this week's episode, we've got the magnificent Ben from Chimera Studio. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Rob. Good to be here.
No, good to have you here. Thank you very much. So, Ben, I know you're I'm going to use the word, a multifaceted entrepreneur. Maybe we need to trademark that. I think that's a great way to put things. But, you know, my history and knowledge of you, you've owned many businesses, done many things. So please introduce yourself. Tell me about Chimera Studio. Tell me a bit about everything that's going on.
Yeah, okay. It's always been the same business, but it just sort of evolved, you know. So it started off as a music and multimedia studio. And we had like some rehearsal rooms for bands to come and practice and do recording or music production. And we were doing photography, video and recording for bands. And bands don't have budgets. Mm-hmm. So we started to branch out into doing corporate work, specifically focusing on sort of web photography and videography. So when I was young, a while ago now,
Only a couple of weeks ago,
yeah.
surely.
I mean, it wasn't that long ago. I did A-levels in photography. So that was an easy transition to be adding that in. My degree was in music, and then I was a self-taught web developer, which I think is the case for a lot of coders. Just you know, go on YouTube and fight with code all day and figure it out. You know. So yeah, we did video production, photography, web, and then just sort of fell out of love with video. Really, it's a lot of pressure.
I feel the pressure today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like when we take a photograph, we can put it into Photoshop and do all sorts with it. And I love Photoshop, and I can do a lot in Photoshop, but not, you know, video is not as flexible. If you go out on site and you shoot a video for a company and you mess it up, then, you know, it's messed up, isn't it? So yeah. So we used to have a simple slogan, which was photo, video, web, and then it was like photo, web. That didn't work as well. So now we predominantly do websites, but we find that it's nice to be able to provide additional service content. So we've got designers that we work with and copywriters, but we can do photography in-house. So working on a website at the moment for someone, we'll finish their wireframe, and then we'll know exactly which images we need. And so instead of having to communicate with a third party, we can just rock out on site, get exactly the pictures we need to finish the site and stuff to, you know, complement the social media and so on. And then through that process of shooting a lot of content for the websites that we build, and also other web developers actually, we're shooting tons of headshots. Like, everybody needs a headshot. It's really important to put your team on the website. And so just as a separate brand, we launched the headshot company just to specifically market that. So that's why if anybody sees me on LinkedIn, I'll be Ben Carrick, headshot photographer, right?
Yeah.
It's not ideal for somebody who spends most of their time making websites.
Well, I mean, can I just say, you know, for anyone that needs a headshot, you need to be speaking to Ben, because he makes even the likes of me look absolutely adorable in headshots in the past. So
yeah, well, I paid for some mentoring. I paid for some mentoring from a very famous, very successful headshot photographer. And that was actually transformational in other areas, because what you learn is to critique, right? And to be critiqued. And going through that process is useful for sort of detaching from your own ego about stuff and not being too fragile. So, yeah, I've got a very specific style really for headshots. But I would often say I think, at least in the East Midlands, in this area, I'm probably the best headshot photographer, which sounds like a really arrogant thing to say, but it's because of the amount of effort and training that we've sort of put in. So I feel like I can say that without being too.
I will vouch for you on that, and I think what I've loved working with you on those headshots seems like a lifetime ago, but your attention to detail was so minute, and to some that could be quite. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it could be quite frustrating, annoying. But you were so adamant that even if a light was literally a millimeter out, or maybe this percentage was 1% too high, you weren't happy with it. And I love that about you. You know, I love that attention to detail.
Yeah, that's how it's done, I think. And I think that's the same for other disciplines as well. Like, if you're not a web developer, you might think a website is. I was on the Ring web. I was trying to buy a Ring doorbell. trying to buy a Ring doorbell yesterday. It was so hard.
Really?
Yeah, I can believe it. Basically, they've got a questionnaire on their website to help you choose the best product, which is perfect. And I landed, I was like, this is great because I don't know which Ring doorbell is the best doorbell for me, right? And I've gone through a questionnaire, and then when you get to the end, it gives you what their recommendation is and offers you an alternatives button just so you can see. And I thought, I'll compare. And then you choose the one that you want, and you click the button, and it says add to selection. What is that selection? You just don't get to find out. The button on the page where you would view the selection is hidden. It's broken. It doesn't work. So I spent like 5 minutes, and I thought that can't be right. I went round and round in a circle, and that's the positioning of a single button.
Yeah.
Anyone? I mean, that's not a great example because that's obviously wrong. Right? It's obviously broken. Sorry, it's popped into my head. It's so awful. But like. The smallest little thing can affect your experience on a website, and with a headshot, the slightest change in your expression, really subtle. If I shoot like 10 headshots of somebody, they're all like very, very similar, the pose and everything, but just the slightest change in the way that you look, your attitude, the way that you lean, makes like a huge difference. So yeah, that attention to detail, I think, is important.
But I think that then takes us quite nicely, I guess, onto something that I wanted to discuss with you, because I know that you recently did a talk. A networking event, sort of all around the anatomy of a website for sales, and I guess that's kind of what you were alluding to there with Ring. Obviously, other doorbells are available,
yeah.
But you know, that kind of customer experience, we've got to reverse engineer that. Tell me about the anatomy of a website for sales.
Yeah, okay. It's the most simple proposition, and I do a lot of CPD. I'm always in training, digital marketing training. I see a lot of different sources of information. I try and sort of, take it all in as much as possible. It's important to stay educated, right? Mm-hmm. And they all say the same thing. So to me, I feel like it's the most obvious proposition. And then when I talk to clients and other business owners, I realize that it's not. And then when I'm using like Google products, they're not short of budget. I think how can they be getting it so wrong a lot of the time in terms of their user interface, right? Google in particular is really annoying because they're judging us all the time and sending us emails and saying, your website should behave like this. And then when you go on one of their products and it doesn't, it's really infuriating. But actually, the proposition is really simple in that in your hero section of the website, you need to identify who you are and what you do to your visitor. And you need to have a call to action that matches that. And so the tools that we use normally are customer personas, which most people would have heard of, I think, like imagining who your ideal customer is and tailoring your marketing to that person. But you can also have a story for each of those customer personas that would be something along the lines of, as something, I am on your website to do this so that I can achieve that. And a really simple example would be, as a homeowner, I would like to see examples of your work and a breakdown of pricing so I can confidently book you to do this. It's a lot of money if you're having work done on your house. You're going to go around looking at different websites, and you want to be able to see what people's work is like, what the standard is, and how much they cost, so you know whether they're in budget and it's worth you taking it further, or if they're cheap and cheerful and you don't want them working on your house. So my story would be, and I've done this recently, as a homeowner, I want to see examples of your work. Mm-hmm. I want to see your pricing so that I can book you. And then the opposite side of that coin would be, we do this for people like that by doing this. And that way you've clearly identified yourself to me as a visitor. So we fit bespoke bathrooms in this price range for people like that. And then if I land on your website, I can identify straight away that you're either for me or not. And actually, I've got a story that I tell whenever I have to do these presentations. I'll tell you, this is a perfect example,
okay.
I think. So a couple of years ago, we moved to a new house, and it was just before Christmas, and we got a Christmas tree, a live Christmas tree. And Christmas is over, and we need to get rid of it. And we're busy doing house stuff, so I don't want to take it to the tip. I'd like it to be taken away and recycled. So I search on Google Christmas tree recycling Leicester, obviously. And my behavior, and I guess this is pretty common, is I've got a list of search results. I skip past the adverts because I know they're paid. Yeah. And so on the first 5, I'm going to right click and open in a new tab. And now I've got 5 tabs open, and I'm going to click through them.
Yeah.
So the first one I get to is a tree surgeon. And he's going to do tree recycling, and he's got a little call to action in the top, like a little drop down banner. So his normal website is about tree surgeon stuff.
Yeah.
And he's got a bit at the top that says, "Oh, by the way, it's Christmas.
Yeah.
I'll do your Christmas tree." I realised I'm going to have to do a bit of clicking, so I'll just quickly look at the next one, which was a garden centre that had a big slide to say we do this, but it was on a slider, and by the time I got to their page, it had slid away. I only realised later on when I went to close it down. So now I'm looking at discount terracotta pots. Nothing that I'm interested in. And the next page was awful, right? It was awful. But what I mean by awful was that it was put together by someone who had just like botched it together really quickly. It was like a stock image from like Microsoft Word or something of a truck with another stock image of a Christmas tree like badly positioned on it. And it said, "We recycle Christmas trees for £10 in the Leicester area. Click here to book."
Yeah.
So I did. And it popped up a little pop-up that said pay with PayPal. And there was two options, below 5 foot or over 5 foot or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's £10 or £15. So I clicked and they were like, "Book your slot." And I clicked on the day, the first available date. And they're like, "Brilliant. Thanks for your business. We'll come and collect it. Just leave it on the front." I got an email that said, "Make sure it's left on the front in this condition, or we'll have trouble taking it. We'll see you on this date." And I never saw the other two pages, because this one said, "We do this. We solve this problem for people like this." So in this case, people who live in Leicester, by doing this. We come and collect it without you having to do anything. Click here. That's the important thing as well. Click here. Take this action.
Yeah.
If this is what you're looking for. And if you're not, leave, because that's the waste of your time as a business owner. I've got a client at the minute who's the opposite of most clients, in that he's getting a lot of leads and he wants me to discourage them, because a lot of them are not qualified, right? It's wasting his time. So you do want to discourage people who aren't looking for your service, and the people who are looking for your service, you want to say, click here, take this action, phone us, book a meeting, click on my calendar link, do a thing. But if you clearly tell people what to do, they often will, especially if they've identified that you've got the service that they want. So yeah, I mean, the first two, I only realized that the garden centre even did that when I went back to close the page.
Yeah.
The first guy had too many clicks, there was too much effort. These guys made it easy. That's the number one thing, I think. Identify yourself, say what problem you solve and who you solve it for, how you do it, and then make it really easy for people to buy from you. And that's the solution. Unfortunately, these guys took their site down. So when I've had to give a talk, I've been like, I have to get a copy of that site. It was so awful.
You'll have to make a mock-up.
But I'm assuming that it'll be back up next Christmas, right?
Okay, yeah.
So I'll get a screenshot.
When you started that story, I assumed, because you were talking about the design and to a degree mocking the design. And would you say then that, although yes, of course, design and the aesthetics of a website is important, is it more the customer journey?
You know what? I go to networking groups, and I'm currently in a BNI group, and I say this a lot when I'm doing my 60 seconds or whatever, just talking about stuff, and I see designers get really mad, but and roll their eyes and suck their teeth at me and stuff.
It's okay. Hopefully they'll leave lots of comments. So
designers,
this video up.
Designers will have an opinion on it, but like I don't care what it looks like. It doesn't make any difference, right? People are often really, I think if you've got a brand, and that brand is an important part of your identity, and it's a brand awareness piece, and that's a big deal for you, then obviously your brand should be everywhere, and your site should match your branding colors, and your copy should be in the correct tone of voice, and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not discounting that at all. But most businesses that come to me have got a problem, and they need, when I'm talking about design, I'm talking about designing a solution to that problem, right? Like this guy's got too many people coming through who are not qualified. So his contact form asks some relatively pedestrian questions. How many units do you ship each month? What's your turnover? Bits and bobs. And it's all about generating an accurate quote. But depending on the answers that you fill in, that form gets sent to like the receptionist, and then she can just phone up and try us, and she'll be really polite, because you might be a good lead, but she'll just filter out. So he'll only end up speaking to people who are worth his time. Currently 85% of his calls are wasted calls. So that's a problem for him, and I'm trying to design a solution to his problem. But whether the button on the form is red or blue, I don't care about. Now designers will have, like, I'm seeing lots of YouTube channels where the designers will say, A/B testing. This call to action button is red with white text, and this one is blue with red text, and one of them converts more, and it's a huge deal. And I think there's there's a lot of truth in that. And if that's the problem that you're trying to solve, that's how you design a solution to that. You test different buttons and you look at the psychology of sales. But in this case, I saw the website and I was like, this is dreadful. But it was the only one that said, we do this for people with that problem. Click here and we'll solve your problem straight away with no friction. It was really easy. I should say, incidentally, they didn't collect much money.
Did they not? So you petty? Oh, no.
I had to get a refund from PayPal. It was a real pain in the ass. I took the tree to the tip in my car. I was so annoyed. It was so annoyed.
Which is a shame, but at least the website made you want to buy. That's...
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the customer journey and communicating your value and your proposition to the customer, it was a perfect example, right?
I'm just hoping that no fraudsters are watching this going, we can really scam Ben out of thousands of pounds, as long as we've got a good...
I know you're going to say, like, I'm giving them the recipe for a good scam.
Brilliant. We'll just, as long as we just make sure the scam is a couple of clicks, it'll be fine.
Yeah, and if they're targeting me, it's sure.
Doesn't matter if it's red or blue, just send it over. But no, I think you are right. That customer journey, that customer experience is crucial, and whether you like or hate them or whatever, I think that's why Amazon have done really well. Because their customer experience of ordering things is so simple, quick.
They've got a single button, buy. They've got your details, so you can add it to your basket. Personally, I always just want to double check. So I feel like there's some tomfoolery in the basket, right? But I know for a fact that because I did headshots for some Amazon Web Services evangelists and some Amazon staff, that buy button that was transformational for Amazon. You can just go, oh yeah, I'll have it, and it's easy. So that's the thing. Remove all the friction. Imagine who your customer is, your ideal customer is, and what they're doing on the site. What are they looking for? What's their problem? What do they need to see in order to confidently take action? Identify yourself and your solution, and then tell them clearly, take this action and make that consistent across your site. This is the action in this take. Book this Calendly link, call us on this number, whatever it is, but be consistent. And then remove the friction.
And maybe people watching this who are selling online, have got an e-commerce store or selling that service. Maybe the key takeaway point then is to go on and do a kind of a user interface audit, as it were. See how many steps it takes to book an appointment with you.
Yeah, and little things as well, like if you're on a platform like WooCommerce, for example, make sure that if you're using a payment provider like Stripe, that they will support Apple Pay and Google Pay, because then there's a single button, isn't there? Even though you might take payment through a credit card provider and you might have a PayPal button, I can just touch my watch and I'm like, yeah, okay, send me the stuff. Anything that you can do to remove clicks will be a really big deal. I did make a site for somebody one time, and ultimately he ended up bankrupting his company through other methods, right?
Nothing to do with you.
Nothing to do with me. Right. But he had a big shop with a lot of products in, and he came to me and was like, all of my competitors do this, and they wanted to custom make products as well. But it was, when we looked at their competitors, it was like just loads of clicks and loads of options of predefined choices that you might have in order to buy this product. And it was actually challenging to go on his competitors' websites and find stuff. And he was like, I want this to be easy. And it turned out to be super easy, because we categorized this product by color and then by thickness. And then we offered you a way to type in the dimensions and make some other alterations. So there was 2 clicks to get to the product page, and then customize it yourself, and we'll take care of it from there. So 3 clicks is a gold standard. 3 clicks and buy, and then you're going to do well. But he called me after his website had been live for a while and was like, I've just heard our main competitors going out of business, and like, this is amazing. So it's amazing for you.
Don't worry about everyone being laid off. Not yet.
No. But then I think there was some other things that happened in his business between his partnership. So that's really disappointing for me, because that website would have been a really good case study to show to people. Look, 3 clicks and all the competitors are like 5, 10, 12 clicks to get to the thing. But he credits a lot of that to the ease of the user interface, right? No friction, 3 clicks. There's things in my basket.
Yeah.
And if you can store people's credit card details using Stripe or something, and you can have just a buy button, perfect.
Yeah, which makes sense. And the more you talk about it, the more I think about all the things that, I'll use the word like to buy, but the things that I do buy, it is always, I know that I get frustrated when I'm having to do the other day is completely different, but I was nominating someone for a business awards in our local chamber of commerce, and the actions I had to take to even just get a nomination form were ridiculous. I had to do the searching first, had to then enter all my details, and it would say, to download the application form, put your details in. So put my details in, but it wasn't to download your form. I was then taken to another page with all of the awards, and it was like, right, which award do you want to nominate for? Right, okay, so I'll click on that one. Right, okay, now here's the Word document that you need to fill in. And the Word document itself frustrated me as well, because I don't find that when you're downloading forms, they work as well as like a web form, in my opinion.
Yeah, and like often Word documents, if you're on a Mac, which anyone in their right minds would be, right?
I thought we said shouldn't be.
I mean, why would you not? Why would you not be on a Mac? And then you get a Word document and it doesn't display properly. It's the end of the world. It's the end of the world. Yeah, and like you say, that could be a form. That could all be done on a single.
Nice little web form. Surely it'll save the people on the back end.
Yeah, there's less administration, and that turns into a cost saving, right, for the customer. So yeah, if they were my customer, mate, it'd be a single.
Mate, well, we'll put a good word in.
Nice.
So we mentioned there, obviously, I know we discussed on that anatomy sort of a lot about products and e-commerce, but I think we use the word services quite a lot. And now you mentioned something to me before this thing was recorded, and we're talking about productized services. I had to check productized services. So what on earth is carry on? I can't say it.
Yeah, productized services are just something that I think everybody should have. It's a good thing to have on your website. It's a good offer. There's a gal that I followed a little while ago called Helen Pritchard, who's a LinkedIn coach. She teaches people to get the most out of LinkedIn. And she's got an idea that every company should have a £99 thing. Whatever the thing is, it should be a £99 thing, assuming that your normal products are, orders of magnitude more than £99. But the £99 thing is the thing that gets a customer in the door. Mm-hmm. Once that customer's had a good experience with you, it's much easier. You've got a relationship, and you can then develop that, right? So a productized service would be a small ring-fenced service that you might normally find, like for yourself. If you were going to do a telemarketing campaign for a customer, you would want to find out all about their business, what they want to achieve, who their ideal client is. You'd need to source data. You'd need to probably triage that. You've got a lot of work to do before you actually do the activity. Then the activity is large and could potentially grow. These are like big relationships, and they're difficult to enter into big relationships, right? There's a lot of nurturing and time spent in that process, whereby if you have something very small and very easy to sell, very easy to define, and you said, for example, maybe it would be like setting up an email funnel, a click funnel, or an automated email marketing campaign. You could say, for this amount of money, which is achievable for most people, we will do this exact thing for you. You can buy it off the shelf. Yeah. So you're going to pay me £400, for example, and that's going to book you a date in our calendar, and on that specific day, by that date, you will have provided us with these deliverables, and then we will take all of that and build an automated email sequence based around a sales funnel and integrate it to your website.
Yeah.
And that's going to take you X amount of time because you do it again and again and again and again. It's repeatable, and a customer knows, I'm going to spend this and I'll get exactly that for it. But along the way, if you are able to give them a really good experience of working with you, you are now a trusted supplier for that customer, right? So for me, it would be something like setting up an online booking form. If you've got a business that takes bookings and you're currently taking bookings over the phone, you could pay me X, and I will set up your online booking form, and I'll link it to your MailChimp, and I'll do X, Y, and Z. But I will very, very clearly define what the boundaries are. What you get for that is exactly this, no more, no less. You'll pay me in advance. I'll do this service for you, and it'll be completed by this date, however many days after the payment. And then we've now got a relationship, and we can talk about other things. And if you need anything else, you're likely to ask me. I think that's a really good method to open doors and start building relationships with people. And it's also very easy to put on your website, right?
Yeah.
Or any other marketing collateral. We solve this large problem for people, but also we'll do this, and it's achievable for you today.
Yeah, and I guess for those kind of examples, we can then tie that into the anatomy of a website, because those products become easier to then buy through an e-commerce, even if it is a service.
Yeah, exactly.
Which are notoriously harder to sell than a product. They become a product. It's like, say, off the shelf.
Yeah, you can have a single page on your website that's specifically tailored to that story like a landing page, and that make it much easier for you to run your Facebook ads and your social media, because you can guide people specifically to this page that says you're a company that needs a landing page that has a booking form integrated in it. We build landing pages with booking forms integrated for people like this, and this is the cost and this is the process.
Yeah.
Click here to buy or to speak to somebody today who's going to book your date for you that we're going to do this service.
It's such an easier way to do business, I think, for the customer. You are right. You know, even if you've got those kind of like lower ticket items, it's an easier way to, you know, build that trust, build the relationship, and so on, and then we can upsell and cross sell thereafter. But I think it stops so much. I think we've all been there, you know, whether we're a freelancer, solopreneur, business owner, where we start to exchange time for money. Mm-hmm. Everything's got that hourly rate. And, you know, someone could go, oh, Ben, how much would it cost to put a contact form? Oh, it's going to take me 2 hours. So that's then going to be X amount.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but then that requires trust between you and the
also that whole relationship is in a way, like if you become very efficient, say for example, let's take that landing form example. If I became really efficient if I list that on my website today, and I say I will do this for this amount of money, and I find that every month 2 people take me up on the offer, like by month 3 I'm the world's leading expert at building a single page with a booking form and having a landing page and your social media going to it. Like I'm the world's leading guy at that, and that means I can do it in a quarter of the time of everybody else. So if I'm if I'm exchanging time for money, I'm either penalizing myself for being good, or the client's paying extra because I'm not. Whereas if I've got a product and I think, well, the value to the client is probably this, I can get it done in this amount of time, I'd like to see that amount of profit, this seems like a reasonable price, then you're moving away from that time. The time for money thing is a problem for service businesses, I think.
Yeah, is that a problem you've faced yourself in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I'm more focused on solving problems for people, because there's a value proposition. And I think this is an issue as well, for not to get too sidetracked into WordPress specific stuff, right? But if you go around looking for web developers' websites, they'll say a 1-page site costs this, a 5-page site costs this, a 10-page site costs that. Well, like if you peek behind the curtain, you would know that WordPress is a templating system. So I make one template that displays a page, and you give me the copy for 10 pages, and I charge you 10 times as much. Like I'm living my best life. So yeah, like there shouldn't be any disparity in price between a 1-page site and a 100-page site, because I'm going to get somebody else to copy and paste your content into my one template, right? What you should be looking at is a value proposition. If you get X number of leads through your website every month and you convert this percentage and each conversion is worth X, your website might be generating this amount of money. If that's the case, what if you could get 2 more leads every month? 5 more leads or 10 more leads. And what do you think it would take to do that? And if you engage somebody to do that work for you, you should be looking to pay them between 10 and 20% of the value of 1 year's revenue, right? So if you think, if we did this, our website could probably generate £150,000 more every year, you can pay me £15,000 to do that.
Yeah.
And I will be fully invested, because a lot of web developers will have websites that are like £500, £1,000, £2,000. And how many of those do you need to turn over in a year to make a profit?
Yeah.
And how much attention and care can you give to that customer for that money, right? So yeah, the value proposition with a website is a better conversation to have than how long is it going to take me to do. So what will you get from this, and is it worth you investing? If you've got 10% of that to invest in your site, does that become a suitable relationship where we're both winning?
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the case with all sales, right? Is that everybody wants to win.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Sales over the years has become a dirty word. You know, he's had a dirty connotation around it. But for me, it's a good sale comes from a win-win, and sometimes a win-win-win situation. We're solving problems for customers and finding the right solutions. So I want to get paid as well. Yeah, of course. You know, that's where the win-win.
Yeah, I tend to sort of like I don't do any sales. I don't do any sales really as such. So like an example is I'm in a BNI group now. I'm quite new to it, but I had a one-to-one recently with the business coach, And we were chatting. He'd seen me say some stuff about SEO optimization and how a lot of people will be paying their host for SEO. But SEO isn't a thing. It's like an umbrella term, right? What are you actually paying for? If you've got an invoice that says SEO on it, you need to phone that person straight away and say, what are you doing exactly? And they might come back to you and say, well, we did this activity and this activity, and that's ideal. But if they say SEO, that's a little bit suspicious to me. And so this chap is going into businesses and looking at their, all their processes, their staff, their management, what their income is and what their outgoings are, and looking at their outgoings and obviously looking at how to optimize them. And then he realizes that he doesn't know what these terms mean. And so in our one-to-one, he sort of threw me a curveball and said, how would you feel about stepping up and doing some consulting? If I've got a client who's a new client and they're spending X, Y, and Z on different web services, could you give me an informed opinion on those and what would you charge? And I said, we're friends now officially. Like, we're in a BNI group. We're friends. We can see each other every Friday. Like, I'll just do it for you, mate. It's not going to take me long. I've got bits of software that'll do that. So I could look at someone's website and get an audit of internal links coming into it, what Google thinks your keywords are, like anonymously, just a number of useful bits of information about your Google Analytics, your search terms, all that sort of stuff. It's going to take me like 5 or 10 minutes. I'm not going to charge you for that. And he said, well, you can charge my client, but I'm not going to do that either, because then you've got to sell it to the client, right? And the client might not see the value in that. But if I rock up and say, look, this guy asked me to have a look at your website. My opinion is this. I feel like you're being charged fairly for this, but I can't see any proof of any activity here. If you need any more information, feel free to come back to me. Now this person trusts me, and we've got a relationship that we wouldn't have had otherwise. And that relationship ultimately would be worth more, I think, than an individual sale. But if I'm trying to sell something to someone, actively trying to sell, and nobody wants to be sold to, right? But it's always a real win if somebody can solve a problem for you, or present a solution, or just help you in some way.
But what I'd say, although I always prefer that approach, automatically there becomes your £99 product.
Yeah, true. That's one £99 thing.
For various reasons, I know that you need $7,000, right? Okay,
that's true. Yeah.
So all I'm saying is, just
I can see it there, and I'm in the clear. I'm all good. So, is that right?
So that's only 700, isn't it?
The 7100s is 7,000.
Yeah, great salesperson, great host, rubbish mathematician.
We're there. We're winning now.
Yeah. There's a 99 product, a full-on SEO audit, because I think I agree with you. The thing that frustrates me massively with SEO, and especially SEO agencies, I think it's getting a bit better, is that they hide behind this Wizard of Oz, the man behind the curtain. I'll give us £1,000. I'll look after you.
Yeah, nobody really knows what it is or how it works.
And they sit back and they'll run a report every now and again. I was speaking to someone the other day, I can't remember who it was, and they said, we were getting a report from our SEO agency, and they basically just provided 5 keywords and where they were ranking in Google.
Right.
I was like, well, that's not really an SEO report. Like, we could go into it for hours to talk about everything that supports, search engine optimization, but it's everything from the back end of the website, the speed, the hosting, security, keywords, enhancement,
I think it's like
everything.
Three areas that count towards your SEO in the simplest terms. One is the things you talk about, the technical stuff. How quickly does it load? Is it accessible? And then the other stuff is what you can do externally to generate links in and traffic into your website, and then what you can do on the page. And each one of those things is a real thing. Although SEO seems like a magical thing that no one understands, but it's not. It's measurable, and I think the problem is that the results cannot be guaranteed. And Google might take X amount of time to respond. So you could do a bunch of stuff, and Google will crawl your site, and then 3 months later you might see some benefits from an ongoing piece of activity, right? But that's not to say that if you're doing an ongoing piece of activity, you can't say we did this many hours, or we created this many links, or we wrote these 3 blog posts specifically for this reason. They targeted these keywords. So that there should be a measurable thing, right? I've had a client who came on board. There's someone's a marketing manager that I worked with, changed roles and ended up in a different company. and phoned me up and said, we're paying £600 a month here. I only just found out for SEO, but I'm not sure what it is. What do you think it could be? And I said, well, ask them these questions. And she went and said, well, ask these questions. What exactly are you doing? You're just invoicing, you're saying SEO, but I'm not sure what it is. And they said, we're optimizing these keywords. And she came back to me and said, well, they're optimizing these keywords.
What does that mean?
Yeah, well, that's fine. They might be optimizing those keywords if they're generating content that targets those keywords or generating inbound links from those particular keywords or doing something. But they should be able to say, we're doing this. And we spend 4 hours doing that and 6 hours doing that, or even not even time for money, but just say, this is what we did. And this is the value of it to you. Like I know somebody who'll write a single article for you for 500 quid, but it'll be really well targeted and it'll be on somebody else's website that's got a similar readership and there's got decent domain authority. So he thinks that is a good strategy. And he may be right and he may be wrong. What he would do, I think, is employ him and he would say, I did exactly this. And I linked it into your website. And then if you can demonstrate that that had an effect, you would book him to do it again.
Yeah.
And if it didn't, well, maybe it's not right for your industry and you could try something else. But at least it's like, it's a real thing, right? That you can do. But whereas like SEO on your invoice is a bit like...
no, it's too wishy. And it comes back to a point you mentioned a long time ago. I didn't mean that like we've been waffling on for too long, but it seems like a lifetime. But... the bit you mentioned when you were searching for your Christmas tree recycling, you said you skipped the sponsored ads and went for the ones that are listed at the top. And if I'm honest, I think a lot of people do. And, I think Google ads have their place. If I'm honest, I feel that search engine optimization, having your website ranking is more important than...
Seems like a better signal, right?
I think so. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So just briefly, then you mentioned obviously you're a BNI member, so Business Networking International member, I believe they're called. So have you had much success with networking? Do you enjoy business networking?
So I'm new to BNI as a member. Because I shoot a lot of headshots, and so I've got that side of my business. I always felt like if I was going to go to a networking event, I'm probably going to be a guest, and I'm going to be in and out, and I would rock up and be like, I'm the headshot guy. You all need headshots. And they give you, and BNI as well in particular, they give you a form and it's got everybody's picture on. And I can be like, it's a good job I'm here.
Yeah.
Like, you guys.
A selfie taken on an iPhone.
Exactly. Right.
Years ago.
You need some headshots. So yeah, I'll be in and out with that. And that was always really successful. Any networking event, if I rock up at and go, specifically as well, because I would say I solve a problem for people. Right? Everyone knows they need a headshot. And it's easy to just blank that. I'll get around to that. But what's the actual problem, right, is that nobody wants to have the headshot taken. That's the real problem, right? Nobody wants to do that. So I would say I help camera shy professionals to get an image that they feel confident to put online and represent their brand by coaching, like using lighting techniques, but also coaching and posing and helping them to get that message across that this is who they are. And so that's again, like solving a problem. The problem is not you need a headshot. It's that like, I don't want to have to do this, right? So yeah, I would rock up and do that, and I'd always get a couple of bookings for headshots. So I think that's a cool. If you've got a simple product and a simple sales pitch, you should go to loads of networking events. My experience has been that every time I go to a BNI, the web developers slot is taken, and those guys stay for life, right? Yeah. So there must be something in it for web developers. They never leave. And it just came up that I went as a visitor as a headshot to this particular BNI. And their guy left because he wants to. I don't want to say he's getting old because he's not getting old. He's not much older than me, but he wants to just be like he's got a customer base and he wants his business to just take over. And he was getting busy and he didn't like it. Yeah, he was like, I'm too busy. This is not what I'm about. So he left, and I just jumped straight in. So I am quite new to BNI. And I think that it's difficult to pass me a referral, right? Because it might be £10,000, right? Plus, like it could be a lot. It could be like my mate needs a one-page website. Could you help him out for 500 quid? And yeah, I probably can. I'll help him out. Yeah, but like it's a high-ticket item, right? So, but I only need 1 or 2 of those a year, and it's well worth it. So, in terms of referrals, I haven't had many referrals yet. I've had someone who's left, who's called in. Right. And I've had someone who's referred me to a designer who called me today because she's been asked to do something that she can't do. But she literally designs. She needs someone to write the code. Right. So I was asked her to build something. And she's like, well, I can do the designs, but I need someone to build it. Yeah. And those 2 referrals haven't come directly through BNI, right? One's an ex-member who's asked me for a quote for something. She's left because she sold her business, and the person who bought her business stays at BNI, but it's gone to a different chapter.
Okay.
So, like, it's not that people are leaving left, right, and centre, but she's left and become a VA. She just wants quiet.
Oh, I think I know what you mean. Yeah.
So yeah, she's booked me. Well, she's got a quote, and we're sort of moving forward with that. And then this other person has been referred just because a guy thought that we would get on. So it's not a proper referral, but they've come as a result of like relationships, right?
Yeah.
And I actually think there's the value is in the relationship. So this is like, again, like my point on selling in those environments. Like, people who rock up to those events and try and sell are probably not going to do very well, and are probably going to end up being what I didn't realize this was a thing, but BNI people would call a 90-minute member.
Oh,
someone who rocks up for the 90 minutes, tries to sell the stuff and leaves.
Yeah.
Whereas other people might end up with a decent relationship. Like I said with the business coach, I said, look, I'll help you out, man. If you've got any questions, just come to me. I'm not going to charge you to just have a look at your customer's website, because that might turn into business for me, and I only need a couple for BNI to be worthwhile. But like an example is a couple of weeks ago, somebody asked for an introduction to a specific person. And I don't know why, but I just thought, I wonder if they're on my LinkedIn. And I had a quick look while we were in the meeting, and they were, but I don't know that person. So I've got thousands of people on my LinkedIn. But I sent them a message and said, oh, your name just came up, and I recognized you from my feed. Which was not true. Like, you know, I was just doing my best for this person. And I was like, this person runs a bridal boutique. I would really like to speak to you because there's a potential for you to work together. This one person represents a business that she's an event manager for a business that hosts weddings. One person is selling bridal dresses and accessories and things. They should at least know each other, right? So I just sent her that message. She's not very active on LinkedIn. She got back to me after a few days. We had a conversation. She didn't want to join BNI. I explained I wasn't trying to sell that to her, but I just thought I was like, you don't have to come. You can come whenever you like. We have good food, but you don't have to. Let me introduce you to this person. I think it'd be good for you to meet. And then just so that my BNI member knew what had been said, I sent her a transcript of our conversation. And then she came up to me afterwards and was like, I could see that you worked really hard to get me that lead. And she was really grateful. And so I feel like if somebody ever says, oh, I'm looking for a web developer, or I'm having problems with my website, she won't go, oh, my mate Ben can do your website. I feel more like she would fight you. Yeah, she'll be like, no, this is a good guy. He'll look after you. He's great for these reasons, which is different than, oh, my mate does websites, right? So that I can't guarantee it, but I feel like the conversation that she would have with somebody if she made a referral would be much more valuable than had I not done that for her, right? So that's the whole thing, isn't it? Give us game.
That reciprocity, I think, is crucial. And you touched upon, and to me, it's, you know, it's so simple, and I'm glad you've said it. You know, business, sales, it's all formulated through relationships.
Yeah, so that's your book, right?
It's almost as if there's one. Come on, one just there.
I mean, yeah, that's what it's about, right?
Yeah, it doesn't. Don't get me wrong. You know, sales and business can be hard if we want to make it hard to sell a productized training system. But we develop relationships. We look after people. You know, we get that reciprocity chain in place. But and we give to gain back. So, yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. I guess the final question I've got for you then, before we wrap this up, is if you could go back to day one of business as yourself and go back, what piece of advice would you give yourself?
It would be that any business owner who doesn't have a either outsourced or internal marketing or sales team is the marketing and sales team, and that's all you are, right? Because otherwise it's a hobby. And I would never have wanted to do sales. I would never wanted to do marketing. And as a web developer as well, there's this ongoing thread, and all web developers and all software people, nerds, sort of talk about it a lot on Twitter and mention it and support each other to a degree. And it's imposter syndrome, because there's so many different languages, so many different frameworks. You can't possibly know it all. What you need to know is how things work and what you would need to Google and which pages have got the documents on that you can read to figure out how you're going to get that to work, right? And so you always feel like an imposter. So it's difficult to have the confidence to phone people and sell and so on. But if you don't do sales, you know your business isn't going to last. And like for me, I love learning code, right? I love it. It's always a challenge. It's always problem solving. It's like an extreme level crossword kind of thing. It's always a puzzle, right? So I'm always learning new frameworks. I'm always learning new code. I'm always trying new things. And that doesn't make me a penny. It doesn't make me a penny. What often made, well, you know, the thing I alluded to before, the guy who was kind of filtering out his leads.
Yeah.
That's well simple. That's like the form software that I use has got that built in. I don't have to write any code. I just set the form up properly and give it some thought. So in that respect, I'm more of a business consultant to him. I will have to write code because I have to build a website and I have to style it and everything, but not to the level of the stuff that I'm always learning on the side, right? So the activity that you do in your job is worthless if you haven't got some customers to pay you to do it, right?
Absolutely.
And you've just got to get over that. And recently, I ran a relatively successful telesales campaign, which was great.
Who was that with?
Parenting Sales Solution, I think, a local company. It was good. And I got a lead.
You got more than one lead.
Yeah, I did get more than one lead. This one lead in particular is from a company, and he's a very straight-talking working class guy, right? So I phoned him up and said, "Oh, you spoke to my colleague. You said that you wanted me to give you a ring sort of mid-January just to talk about your website." And he told me to F off. And no, he was like, "I'm busy. These people phoning me, calling me." And I was like, "Hey, you told me to call you, fool." And we sort of had this brief conversation. He was like, "Oh, sorry, look, I'm busy. I'm stressed. I can't deal with this now. Can you call me back in a couple of weeks?" And I kept calling him and he was not available. He was on another line. He was in a meeting. He was on his lunch. And I thought, well, he's giving me the brush off. And that's really easy to think. And then I thought, well, no, like I'm going to keep calling this guy. I'm going to keep calling this guy until he tells me no. And eventually I got him on the phone and he was like, "I'm so sorry. I've been so busy. I saw your email coming through. Can you just do me a proposal, but don't make it a project, just make it simple." So I just sent him an email that was like, "Here's some screenshots of your website. It's rubbish for these reasons. You're telling me that no one looks at your website and it's price driven, but you don't know that because you've got no analytics. I'll build your website. It'll be simple. I'll make these improvements. I'll put some analytics in, and 6 months later, we'll look at how much traffic you get and what they do. I'll charge you this." And just sent him that, like this scrappy email. And I've been phoning him back every week since then. And every week he's like, "Oh, can you resend it, mate? I'm so busy." And because we've had 2 bank holidays.
Yeah.
I spoke to him just before and he's like, "There's 2 4-day weeks coming up, Ben. Like, I just can't. Can you call me afterwards?" And I will. I'm just going to keep calling him. And it was really easy to think this is going to be a negative experience. Like he's going to swear at me again, or he's got gatekeepers and he won't let me through to him. That turned out not to be the case. He was just genuinely busy. He was in meetings. Just keep calling him. He's a top guy. I like him. He's funny. He answers the phone. He's like, "Oh my God, why have I done this? I'm so sorry." I've sent him the email 3 times. And the note that I've got in my calendar for next Monday says, "Resend him the email and call him tomorrow."
Yeah.
Because I know he's going to say, "Can you resend it?" And I go, "Ha." I sent it yesterday and it fobbed me off, bro. It's a person. It's a person. Yeah. Like picking up the phone and calling or making a sale to somebody is about like having a chat with a person, right? And it's this huge obstacle that nobody wants to do. You can outsource it. You get someone else to do it for you, or you can just like get over it and do the sales. But if you don't do sales, you've got a hobby.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
It's not going to last.
It's all the reason why, Paragon was set up. The analogy I always use is you can be the world's best chair maker, but unless you're not selling them, it's the exact same words used. You're a hobbyist.
Yeah. When I was before I was running this business, for about 13 months, I was the operations manager for a telesales company.
Cool. I always forget that.
Yeah, man. So I know I've seen the data, and the fact is that I could call people and do sales and try and do sales and make connections. But for every 100 calls, I'm going to expect us to get 10 people, and for every 10 people, I might convert 1. So I need to make 100 calls a day to get 1 decent lead a day. And that's like statistical. So one day I might get 3 and I might do 3 days with nothing. So I haven't got time for that.
No.
I'm not emotionally robust enough to do it. Because if it's your own business,
you've got that attachment.
Yeah,
you might have someone says no.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas if it's if the people that I work with, that I train, do with telesales people, they're just there to do sales. They're not hurt or upset at a no. Somebody says no, they'll say, can I find out why? Okay, brilliant. I'll call you back in 3 months. In the database, on to the next one. And yeah, it's painless, right?
Exactly.
It's painless. So yeah,
Get some sales, or if you can't do it yourself,
get
outsource it to
employees.
Sales Solutions.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, look, Ben, really appreciate it. I feel like we could spend all day drinking. We probably could spend all day drinking. Yeah, I've forgotten whiskey night.
I would say no.
We could probably spend all day talking about sales and marketing. We'll leave some links to your website somewhere around this video. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
And thank you to you, the viewer, for staying tuned for this episode of The Sales Circle. It's truly, truly appreciated. Of course, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and don't forget to drop a comment. And until next time, all the best.